Hey, it's ODB, the Lincoln Addict, back with another video. Thanks for checking it out. If you're new, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment if you appreciate the content that I'm providing here. I try to do something unique and bring a perspective to these cars that really no one has touched upon. So again, thank you for the support. This is Car Exchange, September 1980. What I want to do is take a look at a couple of the prices. There's not a lot in here, but there is a comparison between a convertible and a sedan. It's mind-blowing what the prices were different in terms of the difference in the prices. But also there are a couple ads in the back that we'll see, and we'll get a chance to at least get a little peek into when these cars were, let's say, 15, 16 years old, how much were they going for? Now, many of you probably remember reading this publication when I was younger. In my era, I guess you could say, I don't know how long this publication ran, but I would always read the Auto Trader, which I think was similar. This has a little bit of a spin that's unique because it also had some features in here, which I don't recall the Auto Trader ever having. Now, I think I did a video one time on the cover of this. It's pretty cool. You got a Wisconsin plate. You've got a 64 Lincoln Continental convertible in blue, which is my favorite color. And then you have a lady sunbathing on a small dock. Seems like the perfect scene for maybe a horror movie. But although I'm not into horror movies, but kind of cool that they put a blue Lincoln Continental convertible on the cover, so to speak. Now, I do have a couple of the pages marked, but here in this publication, they show back in the 60s, there were many luxury car buyers who considered the Lincoln Continental four-door convertible to be a classic in its own time. Beginning on page 58, Car Exchange examines two Continentals, a 62 sedan and a 64 convertible. Obviously, the 64 convertible is what you see here on the cover. Now, I'm not going to necessarily go into this particular feature. This guy, Bob Lichty, I don't know if I'm saying that right, so if I messed that up, I apologize. If I remember correctly, I would see his name tied to a lot of the older stuff like Car and Driver, if I remember correctly. But this was kind of a cool feature because, again, at this point, you basically have the 62 going on, 18 years old, and then the 64, like 16, right, in terms of anniversary. And pretty cool. They're out in the field here, and you can see nose to nose both cars. Comparing Continentals for a Sunday drive, the four-door convertible is the uncontested winner. Here, the sedan handled better, accelerated quicker, and had a tighter feel. So that was something that I found to be kind of surprising, I guess. Here you can see the front. They're in that same field where the little lake was at, where the lady was sunbathing. And you can see this one has the black interior. One difference versus my blue 64 is mine has the blue interior. Obviously, those were choices that you had. And my buddy Tony has a blue, he has a platinum 65, and he has the black interior as well. So I've seen these in person. They're definitely classy. And this car looks, pretty good. Now, this is where I saw that it has a Wisconsin plate. You would imagine that, in that area, depending on how well a car was maintained or was it driven in the snow and things like that, you could potentially have a car that's pretty bad off even 16 years later. But I've always lived in the South, so I can't really speak to that other than the cars I've seen. The Continental look was the last word in automotive chic. And then here's the big thing I wanted to kind of show you. So they did these test results, right? So these cars were used cars at this point. But this was kind of surprising to me. On the right, we'll start with the 64 convertible. The original price, right? So I always talk about, in my head, it's kind of easy to remember 64. They were around $6,400, or they were around $6,500 to $7,000. I remember that because it really depended on if you added features. Obviously there was, taxes and destination fees. I haven't seen a lot of the actual write-ups or the receipts from the sales, but I've seen some like $7,300, $7,500 all in. So give or take, $6,500 to $7,500 is what someone was spending. But this original price, let's say $6,900, current value, even in 1980, they valued this at $6,400. That's a pretty good return in terms of depreciation because this car is 16 years old. But here's the surprising thing. On the left, 62 sedan was valued at $2,600, which is like $4,000, give or take, less. And the original price was $6,000, right? So about $1,000 difference from the original price. But, you know, interesting. I'm always kind of curious, you know, to talk to people, especially my wife's grandfather. You know, he remembers some of the brand new cars that he bought. He's in his 90s now. And, you know, I remember when I bought a brand new Impala and such and such. And, you know, it's neat to talk with him about things and what car prices were in the 40s, 50s, and 60s from everything that he remembers. He's got a great memory. This was a cool feature. Again, I think pretty cool. That they had these two kind of nose-to-nose with the cars fully opened up. Haven't really seen many publications that went into this much detail for a car that literally was a used car, you know, 16 to 18 years old. And then, of course, with the 62, you still had the antenna on the back. So what do you guys think? Pretty cool little write-up there. The last thing I want to show you is this. So Lincoln's for sale. This, again, was very similar to the Auto Trader. I wasn't sure how big this section was going to be because I don't think I've ever looked at it. Now, the first listing there for a 67 just listed the phone number, and it was like, you know, call evenings till 11 o'clock. You have a 47, a 71, not too concerned with that. 67 there, convertible runs, needs general work in all areas. That was Ohio, kind of Rust Belt area. But this was interesting to me. 65 Lincoln, 59,000 miles. And that was $2,100. So obviously that's a sedan. 59,000 miles, excellent condition, full power. A 67 convertible, loaded, excellent, no rust, 4,000. So pretty cool there because we just saw the value of the 64 that they had at, you know, $6,000 or so. And then there's a Cougar. There wasn't really many parts, but there is a Lincoln parts for sale section. And, you know, wheel cover, you know, people slinging wheel covers and, you know, trying to sell those and whatnot. But what do you think? Pretty interesting to look back, you know, being that I was born in 78. For those that didn't know, it's pretty cool to look back, you know, to September of 80 and get a little bit of insight into the way people looked at these cars, being that they were going on almost 2 decades old. But please consider subscribing. Check out LincolnAddict.com. There's ways to buy stickers if you want to show some support. I usually ship those out within a business day or so. Also, there's ways to listen to the podcast. If you're not familiar with the podcast, you can find ways to listen there, or you can go on the pre-installed iPhone app, which is a purple icon, which is called Apple Podcasts, and just search Lincoln Addict. I am working on new episodes, so stick with me, and we will get those out here very, very soon. Stay on the rise, everyone. Thanks for the support. ODB, we out of here. Peace.